How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. How about you?
Good. Talk to me about freestyle Greco season.
Freestyle Greco season this past summer. I've personally I love Greco. I do a lot of Greco. I traveled out. I used to do mainly a lot of my Greco stuff at Shaker Heights. So I would practice with a lot of guys like Contos, Jackson, just a lot of different Greco guys. So we would do a ton of work out there. But freestyle season mainly at Ed's. A lot of practice there, a lot of summer practice there. Same with the guys, but decided not to go to Fargo this year just because I was working on some other technique stuff, but went out to Vegas, did well there, came up just a little bit short from place and wrestled some good guys. I was trying out some new offenses, some different things. So just, really advancing my game in that kind of style.
And sometimes, sitting Fargo out and working on yourself, working on technique and just fine-tuning those skills versus going and getting matches there. Sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to kind of take a step and say,
Yeah.
okay, let's focus on myself. Let's see
Yeah.
how I can level myself up. Talk to me about the Open in Vegas. How did that go?
It went well. One of my key things after the state tournament was, it was obviously a disappointing end to the season the last 2 weeks. I really didn't perform how I wanted to, so I kind of took a step back, really focused what I needed to work on. It was really developing a first shot, getting to right directed to my offense. So I took a lot of time with one of our assistant coaches at Carson. We did a lot of hours over the summer working on this one shot. So that was the first real tournament where I could start displaying it. So I picked up some good wins. I wrestled Joe Curry from Bishop Watterson. Got a good win over him. He's a great kid. I just wrestled with him the other day in Bishop Watterson because they come up for a joint practice at Ed's, which was also really fun. But I was really my focus over the summer was really developing my style and really coming into my own and really adapting to what I used before and taking what was working and getting rid of what's not, really just improving my style of wrestling and, adapting that into folk style and on forward.
Yeah. You said you're a huge Greco fan. You prefer Greco over folk style and freestyle. What is it about Greco? Like what do you like about it? Because I love Greco myself, but I don't see it as being like the more popular style of wrestling. So
Yeah.
what appeals to you about it? What do you like?
Yeah, I still get a lot of flack from my friends, liking
Yeah.
Greco, like, oh, he's the weird Greco kid. But I just had a knack for it. I was just naturally good at it.
You just like throwing
Over,
people.
yeah, I like throwing people. Who doesn't like throwing people? It's
Right.
always great.
Right.
But I just had a knack to it and I really grew to it. Over the summer we did the Ohio like Greco dual team. I went 7-1 out there, bumping up a weight at 132. And then I wrestled Jordan Rainey 2 years ago and I tech pinned him at Central Regionals 2 years ago before he won Fargo and then won Worlds. So I just really had a knack for it and I just like there's something about the grind where I just feel most comfortable there.
Yeah.
And it's really unique how it like applies to my freestyle game or my folk style game, where when we get in those positions, I just feel like super comfortable there where a lot of guys are kind of scared and shy away from it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to follow up with was so during a freestyle or folk style match, do you ever feel yourself tied up just like you are in Greco and you're like, "Oh, hey, this is familiar because I love
Yeah.
this. So let's go."
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it happens a good bit because like some of the guys in the room are kind of not scared to go upper body with me, but they know like, hey, this kid, all he does is train Greco in the off season, so they're a little bit hesitant to go upper body. So it's definitely a weapon to have in my back pocket. Definitely ripping off headlocks is fun, and it scares
Mhm.
people because it's just at least even if I don't hit it, it's at least in their mind that hey, it's at least a threat. So you got to keep it in the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's a great tool to have in your arsenal because I feel like that gives you just that little bit of edge over someone who doesn't do Greco at all. Like,
Yeah,
that's a great edge to have.
it's definitely a good weapon to have in the back pocket when you need it.
Yeah, for sure. So going in, you skipped out Fargo, worked on yourself, did some extra training, did well in Vegas. So coming into high school season, how do you feel about the season? Like this is a big year for you.
Yeah, big year for me. I think like goals and aspect wise,
Mhm.
I want to place at every single national tournament, every single tournament that I go to. I want to place high. I really have a lot of expectation for myself just because the hours that I've put in over the summer, really developing my craft and really seeing how it's playing out in the room of like, oh, maybe last year like I wrestled that guy and that was really tough. I couldn't really do much against him. But now seeing me progress over and over and having other people come to me and talk to me that, oh, you've really progressed a lot. Like one of the funny examples is Steve Garland, head coach at Virginia, which I'm committed to now. He came to me on a home visit, and he's like, "Hey," he was talking to me about how I progressed from state tournament to Vegas, and I'm like, that was really neat. That was cool to see and cool to have some guy of his caliber saying like, oh, he can see my progression throughout the months of like, so okay, you saw me here, you saw me here, you saw me here, and just really my growth in my game. So it's really encouraging just to keep getting up, like not praise, but praise. Like, hey, you're doing well and keeping it up. So I really have high expectations for this year for me personally.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to judge yourself. You're like your worst critic. So I feel like when
Yeah,
you're trying to judge your progress and what you learned, it always is reassuring to have, a third party or someone step in and say, look, dude, like you're progressing phenomenally. This is what you've improved on. And then go back and look at your own film and look at
yeah,
yourself wrestling last season or 2 seasons ago, like, and just follow yourself and just, okay, yeah, I did improve.
yeah,
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 the work's worth it. So,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
already brought up the commitment. We'll talk about the commitment. How was this decision made? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's super interesting because I talked to Ryan and Cade and then Luke and about the process because I was bugging Ryan's phone all day every day like, hey, how do I respond to this or what do I say to this or
mhm,
so it's really interesting the whole process of going on visits, home visits, and then talking to coaches, and then you have to have the money conversation. So having
yeah,
these difficult grown up conversations of like, hey, this is where it's going to take my life, and like, what am I going to do after wrestling? And that was one of the key points of my decision where like wrestling's going to end someday, so you kind of have to take it up and go, okay, how can I use the sport and not let it use me so I can progress into my life essentially. Like
mhm.
I'm not going to be wrestling when I'm 50 years old. I mean, I would love to, but I just can't. But so
Yeah,
really going to a
realistically.
place that would elevate and the connections I need and the job I need to really grow. And I think I found that at Virginia. I mean, went to a home visit there. I love the campus. I love the
Good.
people. I mean, Garland, the Paulsons, everybody, Ian Parker there, the assistant.
Hmm.
I mean, I just love the people there, and I felt like it really fit my needs. And then there's also a lot of Ed's guys that went to Virginia. Seiko, assistant coach, he went to Nick Solzer. It's just the roots. I mean, I think it was right for me
I
after.
feel like it's almost a home away from home.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So that's the vibe that it gives off, especially if you're an ed guy. So,
yeah,
um, what talk about life after wrestling? Do you know what you're going to do? Because I feel like a lot of guys go through college, wrestle well, have
yeah,
do well academically, have their degree, and then like after college, there's just like almost like a
yeah,
void. Like you're training
yeah,
every day, you're eating for a purpose
yeah.
every day. Like, what do you do with all that spare time? Like, and what do you do with yourself as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the thing I had to think about a little bit and putting into it, like the void, of, like the routine of
Hmm.
wrestling. And I talked to some of my coaches about it. It's like that was one of the struggles when they got done wrestling, where it's
Hmm.
like, all right, I'm done wrestling, and I'm so
Yeah,
used to a regimented schedule every single day for the past 15 years, and now you got to try to adapt to normal life. So um, what I plan on studying is like kind of criminology. I want to go into Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, in that sort of area. So
okay.
that really piqued my interest. I mean, my brother is in the military. He's actually in Lithuania right now.
Oh wow.
So he's deployed overseas. So it's one of the areas that I'm really intrigued by, and it's like a different everyday life. It's not just the same thing in and day out of just same regular thing. It's really intriguing, interesting stuff. So that's why I kind of drew towards it. But yeah, so just the life after wrestling, kind of adapting to it. That was one of my most important things when deciding.
Yeah, seeing the bigger picture after wrestling is, I think, the most important thing when you're deciding where to wrestle in
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
Obviously, whether you're going to like your dream school or whatever, but it's after school's done. Because
yeah,
your life is going to continue, wrestling's going to stop, you know.
yeah,
So going into like CIA or criminology, like kick indoors type of position or more of a techie position?
More of a techie position. I prefer intelligence. I mean, I
Okay.
think I'm not gonna be going over there kicking doors in, but I
Right.
think, you know, not like a different hands-off aspect, third-party aspect where, getting the intelligence of like terrorism, counterterrorism.
Very
That
cool.
was one of the that was why I was intrigued in Army a little bit because I took an official there. I talked to some of their coaches where it was the whole aspect of the army and the connections they have, which is one of the best in the world. I mean, because that's what they do. That's what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's their
But
special.
I mean, so that's what really intrigued me. A little bit more hands off, but still cool.
Okay. So senior year at Ed's, what is that like? How does that feel? What's that?
I'm a junior this year, but because
Yeah.
I held back in eighth grade, but
Yeah.
senior
This
year,
so this is your yeah, this is your junior year, but like after that it's senior year and you're
yeah,
like are you nervous like if you don't hit your goals for junior year as far as
yeah.
placing at all these events going into senior year, do you kind of look at your junior year as like all or nothing, or do you like, well, I still have my senior year? Like that's gonna be
Yeah, this is
all the
definitely
pressure
this is
extra.
definitely something I thought about, but I think it's kinda like wrestle for myself. I kind of taken a different mental approach to this aspect as well, where I'm not wrestling for awards. I'm not wrestling for this or this trophy or this whatever. I'm wrestling the best that I physically can, and then in doing that, that's like the awards and everything that comes with it will come. So I know if I step on the line, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give it 110%, and if it doesn't work, then so be it. That's all I had. That's kind of the mentality and the approach I'm taking this year, where I'm just gonna go out and wrestle hard, and it's kind of hard to be the guy that does that. It just keeps coming and coming and coming.
Yeah,
So
I wonder sometimes like how it is like being a kid in your gut in your shoes and dealing with
yeah,
the pressure of okay, well if I don't place
yeah,
here, I only have my senior year next year and that's it. And I
yeah.
like, can you explain that? Like, how do you feel pressured sometimes with that, and how do you handle
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely like a pressure of like, oh, like you got like, especially as like you got to win a state title. I mean, there's 117 brackets on the wall. You see it every day when you come in. Even since I was little at West Shore, it's
Yeah,
like the pressure to win a state title. I mean, it's definitely there. It's not something that we're like, oh, you don't gotta do that. It's like it's like we're working every single day to get that.
yeah,
So it comes to a point where it's like you can't wrestle so pressured and so compacted and so tight because that was one of the problems I ran into freshman year and a little bit sophomore year, was I was just wrestling tight. I wasn't wrestling free. I wouldn't allow myself to go and win big matches because I was so worried about making a mistake and be like, oh, what are they gonna think of me if I do this or do that?
right.
Where that's one of my big like mental points this year, where just open it up a little bit, just wrestle free a little bit. We brought the example of Hef always brings it up of Bryce Anadonian. I mean, after I think it was after one of his freshman year matches, he's like, if I'm gonna lose 16-17. It's gonna be a
Right.
shootout. So just
Right.
let yourself wrestle free, let the points go, and doing that, you're gonna win a lot of matches.
And
So
and I
that's kind
think
of
I think a key
yeah,
part of that is when you watch Bryce Handonian wrestle, he's having fun the whole time. He's
yeah,
working hard and he's wrestling the absolute best that he can. But I think there's a difference between taking yourself so serious and putting that pressure and then saying, you know what, I
yeah,
I'm the best on this mat right now when I step toe to toe.
exactly.
So I'm just gonna go out there and wrestle and have fun with it. And
It's just a let it fly mentality of like, hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna throw the entire sink at them, see what happens, and just
yeah,
whoever wins wins.
exactly. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. Uh that the workhorse mentality that I've kind of noticed with the Eds kids. Like I'm still really new to the sport. I've only really been involved 2 years. Um, and my first Eds match, it was like watching college wrestling almost. I didn't know what to do. I was shocked because I'm
yeah,
just used to like your regular public high school wrestling
yeah,
matches. And there's a clear difference who a St. Edward wrestler versus just your normal public school like down the block.
yeah,
The I admire your guys's workhorse ethic, the pride that you take in your wrestling. I think it's fantastic. Um, your goals and what's acceptable at Edward Ed's is state title.
Yeah.
There's no other really exception. And so when I see kids getting excited that, well, I made it to state. I didn't place there, but I made it.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's a big deal, but good for you. But however,
Yeah.
like you need to have this standard up here.
Yeah.
In order to get where you want to be, you got to have that mentality, the St. Edward mentality. I call it,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a thing, but I call it the gold standard. Like
Yep.
it's the gold standard of wrestling. That's the best wrestling I've
Exactly.
seen other than college
Yeah.
wrestling. So, um, I
Yeah.
admire you guys for that. I think it's wonderful. Andrew
Mm.
has told me that that's how it's been since day one.
Exactly, and I mean, I don't think any of the kids can take credit of that. I mean, that's the coaches. I mean, we
Coaches,
have some of the best coaching staff in the country, like high school or college. I mean,
yeah,
we have great coaches, and I give all my praise to them. That just the standard and culture that was created of, hey, winning is expected, state titles are expected. It's like this is what is expected of us, and we just go out and they give us the game plan of, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is gonna best prepare us for a state title,
yeah,
and like just go do it. We just gotta go do it. We got the easy part. We just gotta go out, do what
yeah.
we're told, and do exactly
Execute
what
it.
we're told, and
Yeah,
exactly success will come. So I give full praise to them, where
yeah,
they're just setting us up. They're giving us the plan. They're giving us the knowledge, and we're just going out there and executing.
yeah, yeah. I didn't exactly know like how important St. Edward wrestling was. Andrew had
Yeah,
given me one of his old crew neck Ed sweaters from when he was in school as like a gift
yeah,
for my birthday. And I happened to be wearing it to one of my kids' youth tournaments the one time. And
yeah,
one of the moms stopped me and said, "Does your son wrestle for St.?" And I'm like, "No, no,
yeah,
this is my boyfriend's." She made it like a big deal that I was
yeah,
this sweater. And so I thought it was kind of odd. I didn't understand
yeah,
why, but then when I went to watch you guys compete, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is why."
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love, just this connections and the network that St. Ed's has. I mean, the same. I hear stories of that all around. I mean, I wear St. Ed's wrestling stuff. We were in California for vacation like a couple years back, and people are like, "You wrestle for St. Ed's?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "That's crazy." And it's just the people that know St. Ed's, just some high school in Ohio, is just crazy to me. The amount of people that know it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, it's St. Ed's."
It's like
So
a big
I think
family almost.
it's yeah, it's just the family and the culture aspect. I mean, it's great. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, and I was so that kind of leads me into my next topic is how as a team dynamic, I've been in a couple different rooms to watch practices and wrestling family anywhere you go. But how is
Yeah,
it at Ed's? Like how I kind of feel like it's a brothership almost.
yeah.
Like you're
I
all
mean,
brothers.
that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're not just a team, and yeah, we practice for a couple hours and we go home and we go hang out with everybody else. I mean, we're friends. We're brothers. We hang out with each other during the summer. We sleep over each other's house. We hang out all the time
Yeah.
during school. We're with each other. I mean, I feel bad for Zach Carson because he's a teacher at Eds. He's one of our assistants, and every day at lunch, you got the entire wrestling team in his room causing chaos, having keep it down there. So I mean, we're a brotherhood. We say really connected to each other, and that's one of the parts that I mean draws everybody into it. Where we're brothers. We're not fake friends. We're not like, oh yeah, we're not going behind each other's backs. I mean,
Yeah.
we really do love each other.
Yeah. So I think like Bo Bassett, he really shares like his training regimen and things that he how he trains as early as how he gets up. Um, can you run me through like your basic day of training during the week? Like what do you do on an average academic day?
A lot of days it's school from 8:45 to 3, and then practice is about during season, it's usually 2 hours, a little bit more than 2 hours, like 3:15, 3:30, and then go home, depending on weight or anything we take care of in usually after practice, we take care of injuries, we stretch, we go down to the training room, we get stuff done. We're doing like mobility stuff this year. So after practice, go down to the weight room. We're doing just flexibility, just stuff to keep the bodies healthy, because that's one of the important things that we've run into problems where just guys are getting hurt. I mean, it's a long season. We're especially in Ohio. I mean, we're starting first week of December and then going until mid March,
Yeah,
where it gets to a long season. So just staying available. I mean, Hef says the best ability is availability, and I agree totally with it. Just staying healthy. So that's
yeah.
one of the huge aspects that we focus on, not overtraining. So
Unpopular opinion that I run into quite often is I'm trying to get our middle schoolers here on board with doing this, but I think wrestlers could utilize yoga 3 times a week, twice a week.
yeah,
As far as like hip mobility, hip
100%,
flexibility, all of it.
100%.
And I try to push everybody who wrestles to try to do some yoga because I think it does wonders for you guys.
100%. I mean, it's just taking care of your body is one of the most important things in the sport. I mean, you see it every year, like, oh, this guy's had a nagging shoulder injury. Now he finally tore something. He's out for the year. He's out for 2 years. Or these guys in college have their knee problems or have no ACLs by the time they're done. I mean, it's a wearing sport. The sport, it beats your body down. So just
Yeah.
trying to maintain the ability of just staying healthy through this tough season,
Yeah.
so by any means possible, whether that's
Mhm.
yoga, whether that's we have ice baths. I have a hot tub in
Sauna.
my house.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
sauna. I mean, just trying to keep your body up to shape.
Yeah. I one of my son's Christmas presents is going to end up being like a subscription to go get massages so that he can go get like deep tissue massage. And
Yeah,
that way,
yeah,
because I feel for you guys. You guys really beat your bodies. You put it
yeah,
down here, so
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah.
Um, what's the holiday season look like for you guys? We just wrapped up
Um,
Thanksgiving. We got Christmas coming. How do you handle
and
training with like extended
yeah.
vacation times and stuff?
I mean, we're still practicing the same schedule. I mean, over this
Sure.
Thanksgiving break, it's 10 a.m. every morning, 2 hour practice. It's the same thing. It's just keeping the consistency up. Of hey, we don't have to go 5 hours, but we're gonna get in. We're gonna get our work and we're gonna get out. We're not messing around, especially during Christmas break where we got to keep our weights down. We got to stay in check. We got to keep our like tempo on time. It's just staying in tune. So just getting those key practices, and then we'll throw in some more lifts if we have time off. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to a mom who has like a youth aged kid and the kid really wants to do wrestling? The mom is kind of hesitant because it's like, it's a combat sport. Um, and I
Yeah.
always see like football is acceptable, but wrestling is
Yeah. Right. No,
violent
you
and
can't.
dangerous. So like what would you say to a youth parent, maybe a youth mom or something who is like thinking about it but kind of on the fence? How, if you had to sell her on getting her kid
Yeah.
into wrestling,
Yeah.
how would you sell her?
I mean, I think wrestling is one of the best creators of discipline, hard work, just all positive traits that you can instill into a young kid in
Mhm.
going on, moving forward into their life, even if they stop wrestling. It's just it reinforces these things of, hey, you need to be disciplined. You need to eat the right things. You need to practice the right way, or you need to have a hard work. It's like you're going to be in these practices for a long time, and you're going to need to stay focused and keep going. And you're going to go through adversity. And you're going to have to push through adversity. So it just teaches these things to kids at a young age in a simple way of, hey, it's going to be hard, and then you're going to get through it. And then once these kids start winning tournaments or doing well, they kind of fall in love with the sport. I mean, from personal experience, I mean, I teach kids in Avon. There's an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old where I run little private sessions for them, teaching them single legs and snaps. And there's a point I'm like, I see a little bit of me in them where it's like, oh, was this what I was like when I was a little kid? Or it's like they're so excited and they're like, oh, I can't wait to wrestle.
Yeah.
And that's one of the parts where it intrigues me a little bit. Just giving back to the sport of like all right, there's still these kids out there that love to do it. I mean, it's still a fun sport, and just stepping foot into the world. I mean, it's great. I couldn't encourage it more.
Yeah, I agree with you. In short, I once told a youth dad who was kind of on the fence I said, your son's going to get thrown across that mat and embarrassed in front of a bunch of people. Then he's going to have to get up and go shake that kid's hand that just beat the crap out of him.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
You learn how to take your bumps and bruises, and it
Exactly.
makes you a man. It really does.
It does. It
So,
does.
and once
It
once I
really
said
creates that
that, he was
character.
like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Football is no offense to football. I love football. Great sport,
Yeah.
but football is not going to teach you that.
It's not.
All
It's
right. Well, are
wrestling.
we going to see Adam in Fargo this year?
I think yeah. I think I'm gonna go down there. I think I'm gonna do U20 Vegas for Greco.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down there as well. Central Regionals, of course. I mean, I think I'm gonna go back to my normal summer competing schedule.
Cool. Yeah, Andrew and I are going to try to follow some of the Eds guys, get some footage of them this year.
Yep.
I'd really like to kind of ending your junior year and then going into your senior year next year before you leave for Virginia. I think
Yep.
that's cool. So
Yeah.
keep your head up going into the season. You have a goal in mind. You know what you want to do. Just don't settle for anything less. I think you're going to do well. I'm excited that you committed where you did. I think that that's a great fit for you for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does mom and
Thank
dad
you.
feel about you going down there?
Oh, they love it. I mean, we have I have four other siblings in my family. We're all thrown about the country, and we have one at Eastern Michigan that does gymnastics, one at Penn State, one in Boston College. So we're all thrown about the country. I mean, they love Virginia. They love the academics. They love the people. I mean, they couldn't be happier.
So now mom and dad can just kind of travel all over the country and see
Yeah,
everybody.
they're joking about getting an RV and just all parts of the year just traveling around. I'm like,
That's the
hey,
best
not
way
a
to
bad
do
gig.
it. If
Yeah,
you're a
not a bad
wrestling
gig.
family, buy an RV. Save
Hey,
yourself so much time and money. Yeah.
sounds
All
good to
right.
me.
Well, you have a good night. And I'll let you go that way you can get ready for your week. I appreciate you
Perfect.
doing the interview.
Yep.
All
Thank
right.
you. All
Thanks.
right. You have a good one.